Welcome everyone to the first ever Project Eden's Garden devlog. I've got a friend joining me. Want to do a quick introduction?
Yeah, so I'm Obelisk. I'm the director, more so the creative director for Project Eden's Garden. I started this back in January of 2020, and I'm leading the direction for all the teams and team members to get this thing done in the next year and a half.
Hell yeah, and my name's Juvie. I'm the technical director on the project. I'm the nerd who talks to the programmers and figures out how the heck we actually going to implement this thing and build it in our engine, mostly. And that's who I am. Hey Obelisk, why are we making this video?
Well, it's been just over 6 months since our announcement trailer came out. The video's almost at 1 million views now, so obviously it's a very positive reception for the whole project. And we kind of left you guys in the dark. We haven't really shown like what's been going on with production, how we're doing so far, if we're on track to complete everything. And we do recognize that in this sort of community, there are a lot of projects that announce things and then you don't really hear from them for a year or two and you wonder if they're canceled or not. So we want to make sure we be more forefront with the community and show you guys exactly what we've been doing. And this specific video is going to be tackling our antagonists for our story and game. You've seen them in the announcement trailer already for a few seconds, but they weren't named. For people who were following the project prior to the announcement trailer, you already know their names by now. It's Tozu and Mara, and today we will be discussing how we created these characters both visually and stylistically, as well as showing you guys some revisions that we've been doing to these characters. Part of the big thing with our project is our story has no connection whatsoever to the universe of DR. So when we first designed these villain characters, they sort of look like Monokuma clones, like they could be related or distinctly connected to that plot somehow. And so the artists and writers came to me and said, hey, we want to kind of revise these two villains because people think they might be connected to Monokuma or that entire group of villains from that franchise. So we wanted to do that, but in a way, and present it to you guys to show you guys that, one, our story is going to be completely distinct and separate from that story, so nothing related to those stories and what happens in those games is connected to this story whatsoever, and also to show you guys how, despite the fact that it's going to be different, there's still themes and elements that will be the same about these characters. They're not too changed, but they're changed enough to make them their distinct own characters that people can learn to love and be afraid of, really. These are very intimidating characters from the designs we have.
Hell yeah, I love it. Well, without further ado then, let's not delay it any further. Let's get right into the redesign and throw things over to Taco to dig into the art.
Greetings everyone, my name is Taco, and I'm in charge of the art department, both 2D and 3D. I am the art director of this project, and I would like to quickly gloss over what I'll be going through today. I'll first be discussing the design decisions made on Tozu and Mara, and then move on to an update of the art department. So through these several months, me, Nefast Greentail, and Soze have been working hard to produce a redesign for both Tozu and Mara. We have gone through several iterations to reach this final design. Both Nefast and I have worked together to create new splash arts, reference sheets, bio cards, and sprites for Tozu and Mara. I'll start off by going through the list of design changes. In comparison to the original design, Tozu has a significantly more recognizable silhouette. As one of the sole mascots of our game, we have given Tozu a more distinct and clear shape language. So as you can see right here, in the sprites of both these characters, Tozu has a more intimidating look to him, while Mara sort of a mysterious look. If you look at Tozu's silhouette, the first thing you'll notice is actually the broken horn peeking out of his silhouette. And through the many revisions, this design was actually quite reoccurring, and we found that the look added more edges to his design, and it made him look like he's wearing a crown. So sort of like a king or an emperor. It signifies sort of power. As for Mara, her silhouette did not see much of a change. A change is more in the finer designs, which we will touch on later. Next thing I'll be going through is the design complexity. While designing both Tozu and Mara, we have also kept in mind the general complexity of the character. So our goal is to pin down the main focuses of the character and create a more effective design rather than adding elaborate embellishment. We have also altered both of their color palettes so that the color values contrast more, giving each of them their own distinguishable color palette. So Tozu has a more predominantly white color scheme, while Mara having a more black color scheme. This is to allow our mascots to not look like Monokuma, while keeping the original design philosophy. So now I'll pass it on to Soze. Take it away, Soze.
Hey everyone, it's me, Soze. I'm a writer and artist on Project Eden's Garden, and I also helped in the design of Tozu. One thing you should know about me is that I'm a really big fan of horror. So if we need to make this guy intimidating, why not lean into the fear factor a little, the uncanny valley, if you will. If you don't know what the uncanny valley phenomenon or sensation is, basically the uncanny valley arises when an artificial figure looks or behaves real enough to trigger a mental switchover. The viewer's brain suddenly begins to consider the figure as a possible human. The artificial figure almost inevitably fails such close inspection. Basically, we're wired to detect and recognize human features, so when the brain cannot connect the dots when something isn't quite human, we get freaked out. To make Tozu intimidating, I figured that he needs to be a little short of human. To help Tako design Tozu, I decided to put together an inspiration board. As you can see here, this is the board. I included characters from franchises I like that I feel conveyed the eeriness Tozu could convey, that I feel were kind of creepy, maybe excluding Gaster. You'll see that I also included some general creepy imagery, like these distorted faces and the rotting animatronics. Just gross, uninviting looking stuff. AKA stuff that's perfect for our new Tozu. Now let's move on to the man of the hour. So with Tozu, I figured that in order to establish an initial sense of familiarity that's needed to make something uncanny, we gotta add some human to his design. We gotta add some human aspects. Those aspects would end up being his eye and his body proportions. As you can see, his obviously human eye is revealed through his mask, and his proportions are relatively accurate to that of an adult male. And that's basically all the familiarity we need. From just a single look at him, you can guess that he's probably human, and that's all we need. Meaning, now it's time for the weird stuff. The mask itself was made to be like a mix of human and non-human features. The right eye, as you can see, is shaped somewhat like a human's, but the pupil is way too big. There's too little white in the eye, even by Danganronpa standards, and it's just not nice to look at. Now, as for the actual facial structure of the mask, depending on how you look at it, it can resemble either a goat skeleton or a goat skull, or if you squint a little, maybe a human face. In a similar vein, his nose, from a front-facing perspective, can kind of resemble a creepy little smile instead of a goat nose. Another cool little trick going on is that Tozu's mask kind of undergoes a little transformation depending on the angle you view it. So in his side profile, it resembles a goat skull, but from the front, it's that thing. His face is all asymmetrical, he's got a mix of like animal and human, he's got a creepy smile depending on how you look at it, and you know, it's hard to get a good read on a character like that. Like, what emotion is that mask hiding? Is he an angry person, a passive person? Is he stable, unstable? Like, imagine being in the same room as this guy. What would you do? Would you fight him? No, I don't think you would.
So, time for the music video update. As you may have seen, we have updated the format of our music videos. I have created a new art piece with our main composers, Hayden Graves and Robbo Wrights in it, in collaboration with Mr. Universe. Our official name for our albums is Triumph and Tragedy, each side labeled with our respective composers. We wanted to push out higher quality videos to our YouTube channel to reflect our game's quality, as well as show off visuals and animations for the audience to see. In our team, we believe to push out content to be as high quality as possible to and for the community to enjoy. The past few community events and contests have been really successful. Eden's Island, as well as March Madness. The fan content tweeted at us that are sent in a Discord server or on Twitter have been amazing, be it art, fanfictions, edits, and fan theories. I'm personally very happy to interact with the community we have on Discord, and we have received so much hype and engagement towards the events. It really motivates our team. So, as short as this update is, I just want to personally thank the community so much for the activity we have received during the game's development. There are tons of new things planned for the future of the project to keep all of you engaged, and we hope that you will enjoy them while we develop the game. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Taco. That was really exciting to hear more about. I love the redesign. I love how it came out. I think it was a net win for the project overall, and I'm just excited for the community to slowly but surely maybe learn more about Tozu and Mara as we inch towards our release. With that being said, Obelisk, what do we have up next on the devlog?
Up next is Hayden, one of our composers on the team, and he's going to be talking about how he came up with the theme for Tozu, which you should be hearing sometime in the next week after this video is released. So we'll take it over to Hayden, and he'll explain the basically behind the scenes of how he came up with Tozu's theme.
Hello everyone, my name is Hayden. I'm one of the composers for Project Eden's Garden, and today I'm going to be breaking down Tozu's theme. Tozu is a very twisted and dramatic character. Given that he is the host, we wanted his presence to really stick with the player. So, let's take a look. Some of the things I'm going to talk about are a bit technical, but most of it is broad artistic ideas that non-musicians should be able to understand. Keep in mind that I don't expect the listener to pick up on all of these abstract ideas that I'm trying to convey. It just helps me build the piece from scratch. It's always fun trying to put specific motivation behind music, as opposed to just trying to nail a particular mood. With that out of the way, let's look at the beginning of the piece, right after the short introduction. I started the piece with a 2-bar ostinato in the low strings that creates a stalking feeling. It feels as if something is reaching out to grab you, but then receding back into the shadows. Tozu is always keeping a watchful eye over the player, and could appear at any moment. By the way, in music, an ostinato is a repeated phrase or rhythm. You'll hear the strings doing this stalking motion throughout the piece. Let's give it a listen. After establishing the ostinato, I wanted to bring in the main melody. In my opinion, the most fitting instrument for Tozu's dramatic and unsettling nature is the oboe, so I started there. As for the melody itself, I ended up putting together a melody that is claustrophobic and uncomfortable. Many of the notes in the melody are chromatic, or right next to each other, so it feels constricting. When the oboe finally breaks free a bit, it jumps up and climbs back down on a whole tone scale, which gives it a very odd sound. Then we go through some really weird chord changes until we land back on the home key for the next phrase. For the next phrase, I wanted to include someone else. Tozu is not alone in running the killing game, as he is joined by the enforcer, Mara. Tozu and Mara work very close together to ensure things go smoothly, so I wanted to convey their relationship in the music. In this phrase, Mara's melody takes the lead. While I'm not able to show off Mara's theme just yet, you'll hear this horn melody in her theme whenever it releases, and it will act as her main motif. Since she and Tozu are so closely tied, I wanted to include their melodies in each other's themes. After Mara's melody plays out, we get a return of the oboe as the tension builds into the next segment. Now we've reached the B part of the theme. We get this sort of somber piano melody with the ricochet laughter returning. On top of this, the oboe returns for a brief moment in the form of a short, bouncy passage. With all these different things going on, it's hard to get a read on what Tozu is feeling. There's a juicy bit of symbolism going on here, but unfortunately I can't say anything on that at the moment. I would be very interested to see what any theorists might think about it though. We've now returned to the A form of the theme and are reaching the end. First, we get a dark bassoon melody that brings us back to the original feel of the theme. After the bassoon, we reach the final strain, where both Tozu and Mara's melodies intertwine, playing at the same time. Finally, we get a 3-key build-up in the piano that leads into a fall. The ricochet laughter, choir, and piano all drop down in a cascade of sound and fizzle away. We get a brief moment to sit with the rumbling of the piano, and the theme loops back to the top. One last fun detail to mention. You'll notice that the somber piano melody from before and the piano melody that plays at the end have the same shape. This is intentional, and most of you have actually heard this piano riff before. It's actually a reference to the Project Eden's Garden trailer theme written by Everything Fantasy. Let's have a listen. And that concludes my mini breakdown of Tozu's theme. The full theme should release here on the YouTube channel soon, so stay tuned for that. I think I can safely speak for both myself and the rest of the team when I say thank you for your continued support. We have a lot of things in the future that we are very excited to show, and we hope you all will continue to be patient with us.
All right, we have reached the end of our first devlog, and we want to end these things with a quick Q&A section just to answer the questions that are being most frequently asked in the community. So we've got our first question, and this is a simple one, throwing you a softball. When will the game be released, and exactly how are we going to release it? Will it be episodic, where they're getting one chapter at a time? Will there be a demo, full release? What does that look like, Obelisk?
So we have two plans here. Plan one is to get this playable demo, which is going to be the prologue of our story, out by the end of this year, 2021. And then the next plan is going to get the full game, all the chapters included, by the end of 2022. We don't plan on doing an episodic release for this game. We don't plan on doing a chapter-by-chapter release on a monthly basis. One of the things that always irritates me about story-focused games is going through the story and then having to wait a week or a month to get the next part. I think it's going to be more satisfying for the entire community to just get the full story when it comes out, all intact, to play at whatever pace you want. That is the current plan right now, and we're on track to meet that. All right. This next question, this one's a very big one, but how is development going so far?
Yeah, I love that. Actually, this question was just asked in our Discord probably like a week or so ago, or less. I mean, at the time that this is being published, it's going to be much later. But I think Sweden answered good. Just one word, good. I was like, that's so.
I would agree. Yeah.
That's so concise. But to elaborate a little bit more, I mean, yeah, development has been going surprisingly smooth. The team's focus is largely, at least on the programming side, just laying the foundation, right? We're using Unity as our game engine, and we're essentially just laying the skeleton of how Trials will work, nonstop debate will work, and free time. Those have kind of been the big three focuses. Of course, Trials is a big part, and then nonstop debate is kind of the keystone to the trial minigame. And then on the other side is free time events and just making sure that the game is going to flow smoothly. So that's where a majority of our prototyping energy has been spent. And again, all early signs are looking really good. It's already starting to feel really smooth and really polished, even in these early prototype stages. So that's a great place to be, where we still feel like we're tracking very strongly to an end of the year demo that'll showcase a lot of the core tech that you'll experience in the final game. So we're excited about that. And what's so great about the way that we're developing this and the launch of this demo at the end of the year is we'll essentially have a whole year where the community will be able to give us feedback based on that demo and allow us to essentially kind of help us prioritize polishing our features. So that's kind of where we're at on the development side, I suppose, and then giving an update from, art production, narrative production, so on and so forth. Those have been going smooth as well. Obviously, the art in this project is absolutely stunning. I think that's what caught a majority of people's attention initially, and rightfully so. We're continuing to flesh out all of our sprites, just make sure that everything is accounted for and that we're going to be able to essentially get all of these characters in engine, have them looking fantastic, and starting to build the Eden's Garden world around them that players will experience. So that's great. And the narrative team has just been doing a fantastic job fleshing out the narrative, thinking through every detail of the script. Don't want to go into it too much, of course, but we're making really steady progress on that front. And then, there are a bunch of other teams. I probably can't dig into every single one, but the music is sounding absolutely fantastic. We released a music video for the project probably about a month or two ago. A beautiful piece by Hayden, one of our composers. So yeah, development is going smooth on all fronts. We feel really good about where we're at currently, and we're excited to just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, and I would add to that we are on track to meet our milestones for the project, because a lot of times there's a lot of projects like ours that sort of go on like a development roadblock. They announce what they're doing, and then you don't hear from them for a few months, and you wonder like what's going on, is everything okay? So we want to make sure that people know we are on track to meet the goals that we've set.
Absolutely. So Obelisk, another question from the community, and I've seen this one asked a lot, is: are we currently looking for voice actors?
If I had a dollar for every time I answered this question, I would be able to fund this project fully. We're not right now. We will eventually, but not at this stage. All I can say is expect to hear something about that sometime before the end of this year, maybe. That's the only promise that I can give, but not at this moment. And if I might add, if you please refrain from DMing me on Discord about this question, because 8 million people ask it, and we've posted it almost everywhere that we're not looking for it yet. When we are, we'll make a big announcement for it. You're not gonna miss out on when we announce that.
Yeah, and I think it's great to add here, right? That really we're doing this to, I don't want to say protect the talent, but we're planning to launch this game at the end of next year, 2022, right? And the last thing we want to do is cast an incredible group of however many voice actors and then have them waiting around for a year and a half to have a script finalized and ready to record. So really, we're just making sure that we time this exactly right, and we're able to move swiftly and not waste anybody's time.
Will there be translations for the game, so multiple languages support?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the short answer is right now, no. It's currently out of the scope of the project, and the reason for that is obviously we would love to have multiple translations for the game just to make it more accessible to a broader audience. That would be great. But translating and localizing games is incredibly complex, especially for a small team like ours. It requires, if you think about it, right, there isn't only the script aspect of it, but then there's the voice acting component of it, which is, will it be voice acted in multiple languages? And that's a whole new cast of people. So that's a layer of complexity. And then how these translations not only get localized in our kind of like database, but then also work in nonstop debates where you're going to have localized text flying across the screen and making sure that the gameplay is consistent across languages. It actually is more complex in a game like ours than perhaps like a different type of visual novel, right? With gameplay that isn't literally reliant on the language being used. So for the time being, no. Translating the game is kind of outside of the scope of what we're doing. That being said, we haven't ruled it out. And we are trying to build the game in a way where if we ever retroactively wanted to go into our engine and kind of create a simple implementation of localizing the game for other languages, let's say that there was a fan-made community out there of 10, 15 people who wanted to translate the game. We want to try to create a tool and engine that will at least allow us to do that for the script, so the script itself can be localized, so folks can enjoy it from all walks of life. So it's something we're exploring. We can't make any promises, no guarantees, but if the game was going to be translated in other languages, it's definitely something that would likely happen after the initial launch in 2020. Great. So moving on to our next question, and I love this one actually, especially with the whole theme of this month's devlog. So will we learn more about Mara and Tozu before the game comes out?
I mean, this is a very loaded question. You'll learn a lot about the entire game before the game comes out. I think we'll probably put out a few pieces of information, maybe probably a gameplay trailer, probably a story-related trailer before the game releases. So you'll have some context going in as to what the story could be about, but it's a mystery game, and the whole point is to kind of keep everyone in suspense for not knowing what's going on. The last thing I want to do is even put out false information and have people run off on theories before the game comes out. I'm trying to keep as much of the information as secretive as possible, but you'll learn something. That's the only vague promise I can make about that. You'll learn something about not just them, but all of the characters in general before the game releases.
We'll take it. That's something. Something is more than nothing. Excellent. Going through some questions rapid fire here yet. I love this one as well. Will Jet ever be unmasked?
You'll have to wait and see. I mean, I can't say yes or no, because if I say yes, then people are going to speculate on what he could look like under the mask. If I say no, then people will be disappointed or they'll think I'm lying. So I can't even give a yes or no.
There's no winning. There's no winning with this one. Nice.
There's no safe response for this, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I do like, if I go on one point, when I was designing these characters, I always wanted to create that one weird character that in each DR game. And I was trying to figure out how could I do that for our game and make it more unique. And I decided, I could create a character that wears a helmet the entire game, and so it's how do you create facial expressions for this character? So there's a lot of art creativity in terms of drawing his sprites that we have to do. And I'm really excited to show off some of those designs because we have them in concept right now and they look fantastic. This is a very interesting character to have performed in a visual novel like this.
Hell yeah, that's great. Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about Jet. Definitely one of my favorite characters personally. Moving down here, I love this question. The community wants to know how to pronounce each character's name. Do we have anything we can provide to help them with that?
Yeah. We had a list made internally for the team on how to pronounce them because it seems like a lot of people have trouble understanding how to pronounce all the names. So I'll do a phonetic spelling of each one here. I have a list in front of me. First one is Damon Maitsu. Then we have Eva Sinaka. Desmond Hall. That one's pretty easy. Eloise Tallner. Toshiko Kaiura. This one is John de la Mer. I know that people have been calling him Jean, but it's John. It's a French name, so wanted to clear that one out of the air. Mark Bursky. Kai Montiago, Cassidy Amber, Wolfgang Akire, Ingrid Grimwall, Jet Dawson, Grace Madison, Ulysses Wilhelm, Diana Venecia, and Winona. That's how you pronounce all their names. And probably
Beautiful.
Some graphic here on the screen that shows all of the phonetic spelling.
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah, there's probably at least one or two that I still mess up. So even I'm getting some value out of this right here.
How often we'll be doing these types of videos, so these kind of devlog going into the behind the scenes stuff for the project?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, we're hoping to do this at a cadence of once per month. We feel like that's a good way to stay connected to the community, to ask questions that are popping up and give updates on how development is going. That being said, we obviously want to make sure that we hit our milestone at the end of this year to release a demo and then, of course, release a full game thereafter. So after maybe 2 or 3 months of doing this, we're probably going to sit down and evaluate just to make sure that this cadence is working for the team internally. It's not stretching anyone too thin. But again, it is very important for us that the process of this game's development is well documented, well shared with the community. So we're very eager to keep these coming out and keep you in the loop to keep the hype going, because it's gonna video games take a while to make, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be plugged in right there with us and learning every step of the way.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions we have to ask here. And for future devlogs, if you guys have comments that you want us to answer on this video, leave them in the comment section of this YouTube video, and we'll go through them all, see which ones are most requested, most asked, and we'll include them in the next one for you guys. So just leave them down here. It'll be easier for us all to find and be able to come up with the answers for. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our first ever devlog. If you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to like the video. That'll let me and the entire team know that you enjoyed this and want to see more. We will probably be doing another video like this in the future, and we will be discussing a number of topics, one of which will be the 3rd ever community event, and it will be very involved and tied in with the actual production of our game. Just a quick reminder, we also have a Discord server, so if you want to join that, the link will be in the description of this video. It's very active, thousands of members, and we all are very warm, welcoming. We share our content, whether it's Project Eden's Garden related or not. It's just an overall really cool community to be a part of. And we also show any of the full resolution images that you saw in this video will also be uploaded to our Discord server, so that's where you can pull them from. If you were looking for the splash art for Tozu or Mara, or the bio cards, or anything that you saw today. It's sort of a meme within the team that we're really bad at ending things, whether it's like a team meeting or just a regular Discord call, or I guess a video like this. I don't really have like a sign-off catchphrase or anything to give you guys, so I guess the video can sort of just end